Let us learn about the explanation of null result of Michelson-Morley experiment. So the explanation of null result, that is no fringe shift. What is null result? Null result means no fringe shift. Okay. So no fringe shift in Michelson-Morley experiment implies null result, and this fact we have already seen in the last lecture. Now let us look at Michelson's explanation of this null result of his own experiment. Okay, Michelson himself also explained the null result of his own experiment. Okay, and what he wanted to say, let us have a look. But before having a look at it, let us understand what did the null result imply. The null result implied two things: that either the ether does not exist, okay, no ether exists, either no ether exists, or there is no relative motion between earth and ether, because it is giving the no fringe shift. It is giving no fringe shift. That implies either ether is not present, or either there is no relative motion between earth and ether. Either of the two possibilities are correct. Okay, either ether is not present, or either there is no relative motion between earth and ether. So there is one of the two possibilities. Okay, but the scientists in those days, did not want to accept that ether is not existing. Okay, it was very ridiculous for them to assume that ether does not exist. They instead thought that no, ether exists, but there is no relative motion between the earth and the ether. That's what the scientists thought during those days. Okay, because assuming that ether does not exist was very inconvenient according to physics of those days. Okay, so instead of assuming there is no ether, they assume that there is no relative motion between the earth and the ether. So how did Michelson explain the null result of Michelson-Morley experiment? Let us have a look. According to Michelson, earth drags the ether along with it. Okay, so what Michelson was saying is that this is the orbit of the earth around the sun. Okay, in the center there is sun. Okay, and over here there is earth. Okay, over here there is earth, in the center there is sun, and this is the elliptical orbit. This is the elliptical orbit of the earth around the sun. Okay, now what Michelson said was that the earth is moving with an orbital velocity v in the rightward side over here, but it is dragging the ether along with it. So over here, the way there is atmosphere, in the same way, the way there is atmosphere, in the same way ether is also there. Okay, so the earth is dragging the ether envelope. Okay, in the form of an envelope, ether is there around the earth, and the earth is dragging this ether along with it. Okay, earth is dragging this ether along with it. That's why we got the fringe shift to be equal to 0. Okay, this is what Michelson explained. This is what was the explanation of Michelson. Okay, so as ether drags along with earth, okay, ether drags along with earth, so there is no relative motion between the earth and the ether, and as there is no relative motion between the earth and the ether, that's why there is delta n equal to 0. Okay, as there is no relative motion between the earth and the ether. Okay, and these came out from the fact that earth is dragging ether along with it. But there was some contradiction in 1892, just after a short period of, or just within 1 or 2 years. Okay, after Michelson gave his explanation, just after 1 or 2 years, Lodge gave another explanation. Okay, Lodge actually said he found out by experiments in 1892. What Lodge did was that in 1892 he found out by experiments that a moving body cannot impart more than 0.5% of its velocity to the surrounding medium. So if you assume that this is the elliptical path along which the earth is moving, over here it is earth, okay, in the center there is sun, okay, in the center there is sun, and this earth is moving in this orbit around the sun, okay, in this particular path. And already Michelson said that the earth is dragging the ether along with it. So ether is also moving along with the earth. Okay, according to Michelson. But what Lodge told was that if the earth is moving like this, and if suppose the earth has velocity 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second, which is one of the true velocities of earth, okay, around the sun, 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second. Now, if you assume this 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second, then what Lodge found out? Lodge found out by the help of his experiments that the maximum velocity, okay, the maximum velocity which ether can attain, the maximum velocity which ether can attain is 0.5 by 100, okay, into this much quantity. Means the ether which is surrounding the earth, this particular ether can only attain, okay, this particular ether which is surrounding the earth, it can only attain a velocity which is 0.5% of this quantity. This is the orbital velocity of earth around the sun. So the ether can at maximum, the ether can attain this much velocity, okay. So how much it comes out to be? It comes out to be 150, 3 5s are 15, okay, and 110 will be from here, okay. So it will be 150 meter per second. So if the earth is moving with 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second velocity, then the earth can impart to the ether only 0.5% of its velocity, and that velocity 0.5% comes out to be 150 meter per second. That is, the ether will only drag partially. The ether will only drag partially, it will not drag completely. It will not drag completely. So the ether will take a velocity of 150 meter per second. Okay, this is what is the meaning. Maximum velocity, okay, that is the maximum attainable velocity of ether, okay, because ether is the surrounding medium. So this was the experiment of Lodge. So ether cannot be dragged entirely by the earth, this is what it implies, okay. So Michelson explanation was rejected. Because of this, Michelson's explanation was rejected, okay, because there is relative motion between the earth and the ether, because the ether is moving with 150 meter per second, earth is moving with 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second, okay. Again, listen again, earth is moving with this velocity, ether is moving with this velocity, so there is relative motion between the earth and the ether. As there is relative motion between the earth and the ether, what will happen? Because of relative motion, fringe shift should be observed. because of ether because of relative motion between earth and ether, fringe shift should be observed, okay. So this explanation of Michelson, that earth drags the ether along with it, this explanation of Michelson is wrong, okay. This particular explanation from here till here, this is a wrong explanation. This is what Lodge proved. This is a wrong explanation. This is what Lodge proved. But he could not explain, Lodge could not explain why there is no fringe shift. Okay, you said that there is relative motion between the earth and the ether. So why is there no fringe shift then? Lodge said that there is a relative motion between the earth and the ether. That is what Lodge said. So the question now arises, why there is no fringe shift? So this could not be explained by Lodge. This fact could not be explained by Lodge. And later on, Einstein explains this particular fact. Later on, Einstein explains this particular fact. Okay, but in this lecture, we will study this much only.